Hi, I thought it would be nice to talk to you this morning about a session I was at yesterday at the Nursing Midwifery Council. It was very interesting. The NMC commissioned Nottingham University to undertake a research project. The purpose of the research was to look at models of midwifery education, look at the contribution midwife teachers make very specifically to the education of midwives, and to look at how this contributes to outcomes for women in the services by looking at how well midwifery education prepared students for their first year or so in practice. The findings really resonate with, I suspect, what a lot of us have always thought about midwifery education. Firstly, it seems to be really important to students and to their confidence as newly qualified midwives that their midwifery teachers are seen to be credible in clinical practice, and that the sessions that the students have in the universities relate to clinical practice all of the time. The students really value sessions that allow them to develop clinical skills and to practice clinical skills. And the students that have had quite a lot of that during their education tend to be more confident as newly qualified midwives than those who haven't had so much of that type of midwifery education. The other thing that the research highlighted, which resonated with me, was the incredible importance of qualified midwives acknowledging that it takes time for newly qualified midwives to find their feet, that there's a period of transition from novice to expert during which the support students get or don't get can either make or break their desire to practice as midwives. So that's incredibly important. The other thing that I thought was very useful to hear from this research is that the issue of whether student midwives have previously been nurses or not doesn't seem to affect how confident they are in practice settings, particularly if we're talking about the labour ward. And I think that's really useful to hear, because there is a sort of groundswell of opinion that says, oh, 3-year trained midwives can't cope with high-risk women so well as midwives who are nurses. That doesn't seem to be true from the findings of this research. And the thing that determines whether students are confident in practice relates, as I've said, to the type of midwifery education they've had, not to whether they've previously been nurses. I think this is a really useful piece of work, and I know the NMC is going to use it to look at whether they can develop more sophisticated quality indicators for midwifery education, rather than just the straight student-teacher ratio of 1 to 10, which in itself, I think we all know, doesn't necessarily really reflect the quality of education that students get. So watch this space, really, I would say. Let's see how this research contributes to further work at the Nursing Midwifery Council, and let's use this research to develop what we do in our own working settings. The research will be on the NMC website, I understand, from today, and they're going to be issuing press releases about it and so on. So very useful for us all to have a look at that. Thank you.